Welcome back to Kino Lion. Today we are fast-tracking through Sam Raimi's entire legendary Spider-Man trilogy. Get ready for ultimate goblin drama, iconic emo dances, and wild space bugs, all packed into one epic recap. The high school field trip. The peak of everyone's teenage years, right? Peter Parker is out here visiting a Columbia University genetics lab with his wealthy bestie Harry Osborn and his absolute crush, Mary Jane Watson. But instead of just getting a boring lecture, Peter gets bitten by a genetically engineered spider, which makes him feel totally wrecked by the time he gets home. Meanwhile, Harry's dad Norman is out here trying to secure a military contract for his company, Oscorp. So naturally, he decides the best idea is to test an unverified performance-enhancing chemical right on himself. Classic dad move. The chemical gives him superhuman strength, but it also completely breaks his mind, causing him to permanently eliminate one of his own scientists. The next day, Peter wakes up with a major upgrade. We are talking spider-like abilities, enhanced strength, super senses, crazy agility, speed, organic webbing shooting from his wrists, and the ability to literal-mindedly cling to walls. Now, wanting to buy a sweet car to impress Mary Jane, Peter joins an underground wrestling event. He actually wins the match, but the sketchy promoter totally swindles him out of his cash. Karma hits fast though. Soon after, Peter's Uncle Ben sadly doesn't make it after an encounter with a thief, who happens to be the exact same guy Peter casually let escape earlier. Talk about regret. Peter chases the thief down, and during the confrontation, the guy accidentally falls to his final end. Meanwhile, a fully unhinged Norman sabotages a product test by a rival company, wiping out several people in the process. Once graduation hits, Peter decides to use his new skills for good. He puts on a sleek costume, adopts the alias Spider-Man, and hits the streets. The sassy publisher of the Daily Bugle, J. Jonah Jameson, hires Peter as a freelance photographer because he's the only one who can get high-quality pics of this new hero. But things get messy at Oscorp. When the board of directors decides to kick Norman out and sell his company, Norman arrives and makes the entire board of directors simply go poof, leaving nothing behind but skeletons and dust. That is one way to handle a board meeting, I guess. As Spider-Man, Peter fends off Norman and rescues Mary Jane. Afterwards, Jameson bestows the name the Green Goblin upon the mysterious masked villain. Norman later offers Peter a spot right by his side, but Peter is like, no thanks. They fight, and Peter is forced to flee after getting injured. Fast forward to Thanksgiving dinner, and Aunt May invites Mary Jane, Harry, and Norman over. Talk about an awkward family dinner. Norman notices Peter's injury and immediately pieces together that Peter is Spider-Man. Later that night, Norman goes after Aunt May, sending her straight to the hospital. Peter still has no idea who the Goblin really is, but he realizes his loved ones are in serious danger. While visiting the hospital, Mary Jane confesses to Peter that she is totally infatuated with Spider-Man, who has saved her twice now. But wait, there's drama. Harry, who is currently dating Mary Jane, walks in and sees her holding Peter's hand. He assumes the worst, gets totally distraught, and runs to tell his father that Peter has feelings for Mary Jane. That very night, Norman traps Mary Jane in a whole Roosevelt Island tramway car full of children. He forces Peter to make a terrible choice of who to rescue, and then drops them both off the Queensboro Bridge. But Peter is an absolute boss. He manages to save everyone and safely lowers them onto a nearby barge for safety. An enraged Norman then throws Peter into an abandoned building and delivers a brutal beating. But the moment Norman threatens to permanently finish Mary Jane, Peter finds the inner strength to fight back. Norman finally reveals his true identity and begs for forgiveness, but it's a trap. He is secretly preparing his glider to impale Peter from behind. Warned by his handy spider sense, Peter dodges the attack, and the glider hits Norman instead, ending his life. Before his final breath, Norman begs Peter not to tell Harry the truth. Peter brings the body back to the Osborn house, where Harry spots him, but Peter quickly makes his escape. At Norman's funeral, Harry vows total revenge on Spider-Man, mistakenly believing the hero ended his father's life. Mary Jane then confesses her true love to Peter, but Peter knows the risks. Feeling he must protect her from all his future enemies, he hides his true feelings and tells her they can only be friends. As Peter walks away, he remembers his uncle's legendary words, "With great power comes great responsibility." Being a superhero sounds great, until you realize it doesn't pay the bills. Peter Parker is out here completely drowning trying to balance his normal life with his street policing shifts as Spider-Man. He's juggling multiple side hustles, facing overdue rent, falling behind on schoolwork, and to top it all off, Aunt May is literally being evicted. Meanwhile, Daily Bugle editor J. Jonah Jameson is constantly roasting Spider-Man in the paper, and Peter's bestie, Harry Osborn, still blames Spider-Man for his dad Norman's final departure, which makes him super resentful that Peter won't dox the hero. Plus, to keep her safe from bad guys, Peter is keeping his distance from Mary Jane Watson, even though they totally have feelings for each other. Fed up with the mystery routine, Mary Jane goes ahead and gets engaged to Jameson's son, John. Talk about a plot twist. Now running the show at Oscorp, Harry decides to fund a fusion power machine built by nuclear scientist Otto Octavius, who actually takes Peter under his wing as a mentor. During a big public demo, Octavius hooks himself up to a harness with 4 mechanical tentacles run by an artificial intelligence chip so he can handle the machine safely. But the fusion reaction goes completely chaotic, threatening total wipeout, and Octavius refuses to hit the emergency button. Suddenly, the harness gets permanently fused to his body, and the safety chip keeping the AI tentacles in check gets fried. Octavius gets rushed to the hospital, where the medical staff tries to surgically remove the harness, but the tentacles go full rogue and aggressively eliminate the doctors. Now completely brainwashed by the AI tentacles, Octavius retreats to a sketchy harbor warehouse to rebuild his project. While robbing a bank to fund his comeback, Octavius grabs Aunt May as a human shield, but Peter steps in and safely pulls her out. Under immense stress, exhaustion, and the absolute crisis of wanting a normal life versus his superhero duties, Peter's powers literally start to glitch and fade away. So, he throws the suit in the trash and embraces civilian life, suddenly acing university and actually showing up to watch Mary Jane star in an off-Broadway play. Peter even drops a heavy truth bomb on Aunt May, confessing his accidental role in Uncle Ben's final moments. She's shocked at first, but thankfully gives him a pass. Later, even without his powers, Peter rushes into a burning building to rescue a child, but unfortunately, another person doesn't make it. Realizing he could have saved everyone if he had his suit, Peter concludes that his responsibilities as Spider-Man are way more important than his own personal happiness. Meanwhile, Octavius finishes his new machine and confronts Harry, demanding a super rare isotope called tritium to fuel it. Harry strikes a deal, the fuel in exchange for Spider-Man, telling Octavius to use Peter as the middleman to find him. Back in the city, Mary Jane realizes she doesn't actually love John, so she meets Peter at a cafe to confess her feelings, but Peter plays dumb and lies that he doesn't feel the same way. Right on cue, Octavius crashes the party, snatches Mary Jane to force Peter to call Spider-Man, and leaves. Boom, Peter's powers fully reboot. As Spider-Man, he tracks down Octavius, leading to an epic showdown on top of a speeding New York City subway train. Octavius jams the controls, forcing Peter to use every ounce of his strength to stop the train from flying straight into the New York harbor. The grateful passengers try to protect a totally drained Peter, but Octavius swoops back in, bags him up, and delivers him straight to Harry. Harry unmasks the hero and realizes his best friend is Spider-Man. Talk about an awkward moment. Peter quickly talks Harry into helping him save Mary Jane, tracking her down to Octavius's lair. Inside, the massive fusion reaction is going unstable yet again, so Peter unmasks himself to convince Octavius to fight the tentacle's mind control. Acknowledging he messed up big time, Octavius chooses to go down with the ship, sacrificing himself to sink the dangerous machine deep into the bay. Peter rescues Mary Jane, who now knows his secret identity, and he admits that even though he loves her, they just can't be a thing. Meanwhile, Harry has a creepy hallucination in a mirror of his dad Norman demanding vengeance. Harry refuses to hurt Peter and smashes the glass, inadvertently revealing a hidden room stacked with Norman's old Green Goblin gear. Cut to the wedding day, and Mary Jane literally pulls a runaway bride stunt, abandoning the ceremony to run straight to Peter's apartment. She tells him she's choosing to be with him regardless of the danger. But right as they share a kiss, police sirens start blaring in the background, and Mary Jane gives him the green light to go do his thing as Spider-Man. Just when you think life is finally looking up, the universe throws a literal space bug at you. After balancing his deep love for Mary Jane Watson and his heavy duty as Spider-Man, Peter Parker is actually feeling secure and planning to propose. Mary Jane just made her big Broadway musical debut. The city absolutely loves their spider hero, and Peter is genuinely enjoying his daily hustle as a freelance photographer. But while they are out on a date, lying in a huge web Peter made in the park, a small meteorite crashes nearby, and an extraterrestrial symbiote oozes out, casually hitching a ride on Peter's moped. Talk about a sketchy third wheel. Meanwhile, major drama is brewing. Peter's old bestie Harry Osborn, fully aware of his identity and pushed by the pain of losing his dad, vows revenge. He uncovers Norman's secret chamber, doses himself with performance-enhancing gas, and crowns himself the new Goblin. He jumps Peter using new weapons adapted from the old Green Goblin tech, but the battle goes completely sideways, causing Harry to fall from his glider and develop a major case of short-term amnesia, making him forget the whole vendetta. At the same time, a convict named Flint Marko escapes from prison to briefly visit his wife and sick daughter. While running from the law, Marko stumbles into a molecular lab experiment inside a particle accelerator which fuses his body with sand, turning him into the invincible Sandman with the wild ability to shapeshift at will. During a festival honoring Spider-Man for saving Gwen Stacy's life, Peter kisses Gwen to please the cheering crowd, which naturally pushes Mary Jane's buttons, especially since MJ's own stage career is currently floundering. Soon after, Marko robs an armored truck and overpowers Spider-Man before making a quick getaway. Later, Police Captain George Stacy completely rewrites the script for Peter and Aunt May, revealing that Marko is actually Uncle Ben's true culprit, while the now deceased Dennis Carradine was merely an accomplice. That night, a vengeful Peter passes out in his suit, giving the space symbiote the perfect chance to integrate into the fabric. Peter wakes up hanging from a skyscraper in central Manhattan, discovering his suit has turned pitch black, his powers are totally dialed up, and his inner aggression, selfishness, and arrogance are suddenly off the charts. Wearing the new suit, Spider-Man tracks Marko into a cavernous underground subway tunnel. Noticing that water dissolves the guy's body, Peter rips open a large water pipe to deliver what he believes to be a lethal torrent, reducing Sandman to mud and washing him away. But Peter's new toxic attitude alienates Mary Jane, who finds solace with Harry. A creepy apparition of his dead father prompts Harry to recover from his amnesia, and he forces MJ to break up with Peter. When MJ leaves Peter, claiming she loves someone else, Harry meets him at a restaurant and proudly claims to be the guy. Influenced by the dark suit, Peter confronts Harry at the Osborn mansion, leading to a brutal fight that leaves Harry's face heavily disfigured because he literally fumbled the catch with one of his own explosive gadgets. Back at the Daily Bugle, Peter exposes the sketchy behavior of his rival photographer, Eddie Brock, who gained overnight star status by submitting doctored photos to falsely incriminate Spider-Man as a criminal. Furious at having to print a retraction, J. Jonah Jameson fires Eddie on the spot. Peter completely alters his clothes and hairstyle, walking around like an arrogant boss. To make MJ jealous, he brings Gwen to the jazz club where Mary Jane now works. Gwen catches on to the petty ploy and storms out. Peter then gets into a scuffle with the bouncers and accidentally slaps Mary Jane, knocking her to the floor. Horrified by his own actions, Peter realizes the black suit is corrupting his mind for the worse. He retreats to a church bell tower to dispose of the suit. It won't come off at first, but the alien eventually weakens due to the loud sound of the clanging bell, enabling Peter to break free. Coincidentally, Eddie Brock is at that exact church praying for Peter's demise when the symbiote falls from the tower and takes over his body. Reincarnated as Venom, Eddie finds Sandman, who survived the water attack, and they join forces to destroy Spider-Man. They trap Mary Jane in a taxicab, hanging it from a gigantic web above a sand-filled construction site. Peter begs Harry for help but gets turned down. However, Harry's butler Bernard finally steps in to clear the air, dropping some elite corporate knowledge that Norman's final departure was absolutely not Spider-Man's fault. Just as Venom and a monstrously giant Sandman are closing in to permanently finish Spider-Man, Harry flies in on his glider to form an epic alliance. Harry temporarily subdues the giant Sandman. Venom attempts to impale Peter with Harry's glider, but Harry pulls a total heroic move, sacrifices himself, and gets impaled instead, suffering the same fate as his father. Recalling how the church bell weakened the alien, Peter grabs some falling metal pipes to create a ring of sonic vibrations around Venom. The pain forces the alien to release Brock, and Peter pulls Eddie away with a web string. Peter throws one of those explosive gadgets at the hostless symbiote, but Eddie, completely addicted to its dark influence, rushes right back into the ring, causing him to be completely destroyed along with it in the resulting explosion. With the dust settling, Marco recovers and explains that Uncle Ben's final departure was a complete accident born out of a desperate attempt to save his dying daughter's life. Peter grants him full forgiveness, and Marco dissipates into the breeze. Harry shares a final emotional reconciliation with Peter and Mary Jane before passing away at their side. After a somber funeral attended by Aunt May, Bernard, and the Stacys, a few days pass. Peter walks into the jazz bar where Mary Jane is singing. They embrace, share a slow dance, and finally begin to mend their relationship as the curtain closes. And that is how the web unravels. If you survive that wild emotional roller coaster, gently tap that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. You guys are the absolute best, and I will see you in the next one.